everybody, and welcome to Abutirem's Live, a show where we get to sit down with some of South Africa's most amazing and successful leaders and entrepreneurs. So in today's episode, we are joined by Charles Savage, who is the CEO of Purple Group and EasyEquities. Charles, thank you so much for being part of Abutirem's Live.
It's so lucky to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Awesome stuff. So Charles, I want to go into your entrepreneurial journey. Maybe you can share with us where you actually started and also some of the challenges that you incurred as an entrepreneur, especially when we are during the Global Entrepreneurship Month, hey?
Yeah, so I mean the journey started back after university, where I qualified as an accountant and as an IT professional. And back then the internet was exploding. There were lots of opportunities and everyone felt that the world was going to be changed by online e-commerce. And I ended up developing some of South Africa's first e-commerce sites, everything from bookstores through to a store that sold seeds and wine and everything else. And by learning more about other people's businesses, I became more interested in creating my own business. And I guess that's where the interest started and the journey started. And I've always used IT as a way to enable my entrepreneurship. So it's been a double-edged journey. One driven by some passionate projects that I've wanted to do my whole life, and EasyEquities is one of those.
Interesting.
And the other, always trying to use IT to enable that business opportunity so we could create efficiencies and scale and deliver the services to a broader audience.
But was there that passion within you to start a fintech company such as EasyEquities though?
Look, I've been doing this for 20 years when fintech wasn't even popular. We built South Africa's first CFD trading platform back in 2000, and then there wasn't a word called fintech. Back then it was just tech.
Sure.
Today we call it fintech, and it's much sexier than it was back then. But EasyEquities was born out of the deep desire to democratize access to all things investing. And fundamentally, I've been in the industry for 20 years now, and there's always been a promise of a broad-based participation in investment services in South Africa.
Correct.
And over the last 20 years, the demographic of the average person who owns shares hasn't changed. Predominantly, it's white old men. And so in 2013, I was tired of doing things the conventional way and wanted to create a platform that challenged the conventional way and did things differently. And in order to understand what we needed to do differently, we had to understand what the friction points were for our customers. And in unpacking those friction points, we came to the conclusion that fundamentally everything needed to be easier. The platform experience needed to be easier, the onboarding needed to be easier, the language that we used needed to be easier,
so easy to understand.
Everything that we delivered. And so hence the name EasyEquities was born, and the platform was launched just over 5 years ago. It was launched 27th of October 2014. So we're just 5 years old, and we're making an extraordinary difference in young South Africans' lives.
I mean, I'm also on EasyEquities. I find it so easy to use actually, and hopping in onto app every day, every morning, actually checking out how actually the stocks are actually taking place, and also how can I buy onto new ones. That's an easy platform to actually use. And
it's a positive addiction, right?
Yeah, no, definitely.
We never thought it would be as addictive as it is.
Yeah,
I mean, when we built the platform, we thought that our customers would pitch up 5-6 times a year, buy shares, sell shares, check on their portfolio. On average, our customers pitch up once every 3 days. And we've got over 110,000 active customers. Now, that's an extraordinary engagement, level of engagement for a financial services company. I mean, typically you don't log into your bank every 3 days.
No, definitely.
Over payday, we're all in. When the money's gone, we're all out. With EasyEquities, we get an opportunity to talk to our customers every 3 days. And in being able to talk to them, we have to tell them something interesting. So it means that our content strategy needs to be on cue as well. We have to give you a reason to come back. There need to be things to check on, and places where you can learn new skills.
No, definitely, and that has actually got you a nomination in I think it was in 2018 for the South Africa Startup Awards. How did that feel? Getting nominated for the fintech company.
I love winning awards.
Who doesn't?
We've won a lot of them. I think last count we've won 17 global awards for best fintech, best startup, most innovative business in South Africa 2 years in a row. But the real awards, and if you like rewards, are our customers. I mean, when you look at the demographic of our customer base, 65% of them are young South Africans under the age of 37. 95% of them are first-time investors, so they've never made an investment prior to us on the
just
platform.
Like me.
And importantly, they are demographically representative of the South African population, so they're black South Africans. And I honestly believe that we're the only financial services business operating in the investment landscape that can say that. And when we designed the platform, that was the target audience we were going after. And so it's the stories of young South Africans taking up investing for the first time that they give me goosebumps.
Sure, no, definitely.
We've got every day we hear about investors like you, investors, younger investors, 12-year-old kids running portfolios, minimum wage earners that work at big corporates that rather than buying the company coffee, save £5 every day and buy a share every day, and everything in between. And it's been an extraordinary journey, one that we're having so much fun with. And importantly, I think the differentiator in what we do is that at the center of everything we do are the people we serve and the people that serve the company. And there's a huge sense of purpose in what we're doing.
Sure. One of the cool things that we actually love about it is usually the reward system, actually. Yeah. So in the reward system, you actually give people, a bit of cash into their accounts in terms of them referring people to others. So maybe walk us through that. How do you actually go about it?
So if you think about the barriers to entry.
Sure.
One of the biggest barriers to entry, and let's just put aside the fact that pretty much anyone can open an account, because it's not difficult. You need to have a South African ID and your account pretty much gets opened. But the next big barrier to entry is the fear that I have of losing money. And so why not make that first investment with our money? And so the referral program allows our community to refer their friends and family, and everyone that gets referred gets 50 Rand to invest, and the individual who refers that individual gets 50 Rand in free brokerage. So you both win. You both get 50 Rand of value. The important part is, and what we've learned from our customers is that once you've made your first investment, so you've used your 50 Rand and made your first investment, it's over. You are going to continue to invest for the rest of your life because you've eliminated that barrier. You're no longer scared of it. You no longer doubt yourself that you're not capable of doing it. And you've suddenly got a reason to pitch up and log in and check on your 50 Rand every day. And so the 50 Rand is a way of just removing a barrier and making it easier for you to get over your fear of investing and use our money. And over 3 years, that money becomes your money, and everyone gets rewarded for referring customers.
Oh, awesome. So do you actually share insights into some of the best performing companies in the JSE?
Yeah, we do. So we've got a research capability internal. So we deliver research pretty much every day. There's research that will come out on the stocks. We also buy external research from a couple of companies, which we deliver. And so there's a combination of in-house and outsourced research where we deliver it to our consumers for free, our customers for free. Importantly, I mean, the difference between when I started in investing, which was 25 years ago, literally, back then, if you wanted to know anything about a stock, you had to find a stockbroker. The internet just didn't have the wealth of information it's got today. Today, if you want to know anything about a stock, you can follow the CEO on Twitter. You can follow investment analysts on Twitter. You can follow asset managers on Twitter, and you can learn from all of their moves, and you get to ask questions. If you see the engagement that happens on Twitter around investments, it's amazing.
It's amazing.
So you don't need to be an expert. You just need to follow the crowd, make sure you get follow the right people, learn from their every move, ask questions, and get invested.
Oh, that's proper. So tell me, maybe something that is outside EasyEquities now. A lot of people are actually talking about the fourth industrial revolution right now, and I mean, a lot of people who actually contribute towards this topic around fourth industrial revolution. Our government is speaking about it. Corporate sector is actually speaking about it. The biggest question is: are we ready for it? And can we actually do it as a country right now? Actually,
I mean, it's an interesting question, and it's not one at the cost or the expense of another. Are we ready for it in all sectors? No, we're not. But are we ready for it in urban South Africa? For sure. If you think about the infrastructure required to enable the fourth industrial revolution, and you look at where things like data costs are going and access to services, in urban South Africa, I guess we're ready for it. In rural South Africa, we're not. I mean, if you think about someone living in a rural area and their access to participate on just things like a smartphone, very restricted, still relatively expensive to what they earn, and so in rural South Africa potentially not. And so it's a game of two halves.
Sure.
In urban South Africa, we're ready for it. In urban South Africa, we've got to still fix infrastructure. We've got to do, first industrial revolution, and second, we've got to get infrastructure to them. We've got to get services to them, and we've got to enable them and educate them. And so it's not one at the expense of the other. We are ready for it in the cities, and I think that's a story of Africa. In a lot of big African cities, they're ready for the fourth industrial revolution. It is playing out already. But it's not a case that it applies or the whole of South Africa can benefit.
And what do you think it will take for us actually, and how long would it actually take for all of us to actually ride on?
Yeah, I mean, the beautiful thing about today is that everything is moving faster than it did yesterday.
Sure.
And so our ability to move the needle on enabling access, let's say in a rural area, is much easier and much quicker today. In the old days we had to put lines down and infrastructure, and now we just have to put a modem or a tower up. And the other thing is that there are lots of companies competing for your interest. I mean, just think about the telcos. That space is much more competitive than it used to be. Our data costs are coming down. You've got new entrants like Rain coming to market, which are lowering the cost. And so it's going to happen faster than I think we all expect. Government's got a huge role to play. We've got to build roads. We've got to put education systems in and schemes in. We've got to get water and infrastructure. We've got some basics we need to do.
Basic things that we need to get right.
And if we don't get those right, then those people are not going to be able to participate. But I think the political environment that we're operating in is increasingly more encouraging and increasingly attentive to these issues. And so I'm positive. I think that the next decade in South Africa, we could comfortably enable the fourth industrial revolution and say that it's open to everyone.
What do you think the government needs to do right now actually to educate people and get people on board?
I think you've got to think about it differently than we have in the past. In the old days, you have to build a school close to a rural area in order to educate that area. Today, I think if you do public-private partnerships and you put a tower with free Wi-Fi and broadband and deliver education through smartphones and tablets rather than physical infrastructure, we can do it quicker because it takes a year or years to build schools. But to drop a tower in and do online education courses and testing and classroom virtual classrooms, I think that we can achieve it much quicker. And so for me, I'd be focusing on delivering education to all South Africans in a digital format much quicker. And there, when I say public-private partnerships, I mean, imagine a private school. Let's just take one that I know well, like St. Stithians. They have a curriculum, and that teacher stands up and serves 20 to 30 pupils every day. If we allowed access to that classroom and delivered that access through digital means to rural areas so that they could sit in classrooms and watch that screen or sit on their cell phones and watch that screen. The physical infrastructure to do that is just so easy to do. And I'm confident that companies would sponsor it and get involved, and telcos would be part of the solution. And so for me, I think we have to think differently. We don't need to build 100 schools in South Africa. We need to think about how technology can solve the problem for us faster. Because I think over the last 20 years we've let South Africans down in educating them, and I think that if we use the technology of today, we can deliver these things much faster. And so we mustn't think about doing things the same way we would have done them 10 years ago.
Yeah, definitely. What do you think that entrepreneurs need to be doing in order to take advantage of that space as well? I mean,
Africa has got so many problems.
Definitely.
And every single one of them is an entrepreneurial opportunity. Because if you solve problems, there's a demand for that solution. And so as an entrepreneur, Africa is such an exciting place to be. If I lived in America, which has far less problems, it also has less opportunities. And it's a much more competitive marketplace. There are a lot more people vying for that same business opportunity. So as an African, I'm excited by the entrepreneurial opportunities that surround me. I mean, I literally get distracted by them every single day because every time I see a problem, it's a potential solution for an entrepreneur to solve. And I think as young South Africans, we've got to think about entrepreneurship before we think about formal corporate employment. And the thing that's we need, again, it relies on government. We need the right incentives and the right infrastructure to support entrepreneurs, to encourage them, to reward them, to educate them, to mentorship them.
Sure.
And for me, there's no shortage of talented South Africans. The infrastructure or the ecosystem to support entrepreneurs is much better than it was 20 years ago. When I built some of my first business 20 years ago, the ecosystem was poor. Today's ecosystem is much stronger, but there's still a lot more to do to get it on par with places like America or Europe or even places like China.
Oh, what do you think about the trade wars within China and America, and how actually does that affect us as
it does?
As a continent?
These two superpowers. It's not dissimilar to the old American-Russian Cold Wars of old.
Sure.
And there's a lot of ego in the room when those two countries collide.
Yeah.
And when I can't remember, there's an African proverb, but I think it's when two buffaloes collide, the only thing that gets ruined is the ground underneath.
Sure.
And it's two buffaloes colliding, and there's going to be damage. There's going to be and we're all going to be affected by it.
And when do we find ourselves in this space?
I think South Africa's relatively isolated from it. We wear the emerging market tag, and so anything that affects China has a knock-on effect and affects us. For me, South Africa's opportunity is Africa. I worry less about what's going on in America and China, and I'd be more focused on what's going on here. We, from a technological perspective, from a infrastructure perspective, from a skill set perspective, we should be exporting our skills to solve other African problems that we've already solved here. I mean, I travel a lot in Africa, and every time I come home, I'm reminded how good our infrastructure is. We sit here and we love to moan about our infrastructure. When we drive down the road and we scream about a pothole.
Sure.
If you've been to a place in Africa, they don't have potholes because they don't have roads.
Sure.
And I think as South Africans, if we were taking the skills that we had here and utilizing to solve problems that we've solved here in other African markets, we would we'd focus less on what America and China are up to. They're obviously important partners to us. They buy our products, we buy theirs. But for me, it's too much ego in one space, and I think the knock-on effects for us are limited.
Yeah, is it? So for entrepreneurs, there's a buzzword about collaboration right now. And what's your take about entrepreneurs who are in different spaces, or maybe in the same space, and probably in fintech like yourself, and there are ways of collaborating in order to produce content, produce products and services that can be consumed by the South African market. What do you think about collaboration, and actually
I think it's a key ingredient in order to forge successful entrepreneurship in South Africa. For me, most of my lessons have come from failure, and sharing those lessons with new entrepreneurs, collaborating with them and helping them avoid those kind of failures so that their route to success is faster is really important. Collaboration can do that, so shared experiences. The other reason why I think collaboration is so important is it allows you to scale your business opportunity faster. And if you think about it, if I let's just say that my biggest competitor is Absa Bank, and you think about Absa Bank and all the resources and skills and services and products, I can't compete perceptually.
Definitely.
But if I partner other entrepreneurs that are doing similar things in the fintech space, and I partner someone who does lending, and I partner someone who does transactional banking, a startup neobank, and I do other services, then in the result, I look just like Absa, and together we can compete much quicker. Whereas if I try and rebuild Absa, it's going to take me decades to do. And so for me, fintech should be collaborating to create the next big bank in partnership with each other. Because the old mentality and it is a South African, it's not just South African, it's a global mentality where the big banks, and I'm just using banks because it's fintech, we're going to build everything ourselves. That's over. They can't move fast enough. And so if we collaborate with startups who are focused on a segment to create a delivery mechanism that rivals the bank, or delivery offering that rivals the bank, then the thing that we have ahead of the bank is together we still move faster because we've got all of this capability, which is agile, thin and lean, and capable of moving much faster. So I think the next big bank won't be built in the same way that Capitec was built, for example. I think the next big bank will be built in partnership with entrepreneurs.
Yeah, talking about banks, they've been retrenching quite a number of people in the country. What do you think has been affecting that? Because a lot of people are actually, saying it's because of the fourth industrial revolution.
Yeah.
But what do you think is the main contributing factor towards that?
I think over the last decade, the prevalent theme in financial service has been lower costs. That's been where everyone has had to compete. And as a result of that, everyone has had to deliver services cheaper. And that's also it's been driven by the fact that, one, these startups have got much leaner business models and they deliver them over digital means. They don't have to have branch infrastructure, and so they've been able to deliver low cost, zero banking. The only response that the big banks have had has been to cut costs and to create a leaner environment so that they can be more cost effective and deliver similar services. So it's a natural, it's a trend that I think is going to continue to play out. Banks are going to get smaller in terms of their operating overheads, and more efficient and effective.
Like the introduction of Time Bank, eh?
Yeah, I mean, look at that. And there are lots of, I've looked at a lot of the new startup banks. I mean, the footprint of those businesses is just so much smaller. Essentially they build a technical architectural infrastructure that they can deliver over mobile phone. They have no physical infrastructure, 200 IT developers, and that's it. And that compared to ABSA that has buildings in Sandton and in town and in every single centre. So this fourth industrial revolution is challenging the way we did business. It's interesting to note that someone like Capitec, who's growing the fastest rate, continues to build physical infrastructure, continues to build more branch networks, and maybe they know something that we don't. Maybe there is still a huge amount of value for people to walk into a branch and be able to deliver, get the service. And so the jury's out. I remember 20 years ago when the internet was in its foundation state, everyone said it was the death of the salesman. That the internet,
yes, I remember.
there are more salesmen today than there were then.
Sure.
It's actually enabled a new way of selling. And all it's done is made sales more efficient. So now we have these digital channels that give us leads and optimize those leads. But at the end of the day, we still have salesmen delivering a service. And I think that's the same for banking. We're going to redefine how we bank, when we want to see someone. It's going to be more efficient and more effective at a lower cost. But fundamentally, I think that banking over time will transform itself and create more jobs. So it's not a case that they're going to retrench all forever, but those jobs will be in different places. Something like big data or artificial intelligence, those are areas where I think banks are going to be hiring hundreds and hundreds of people. And so, every time there's an innovation in an industry, everyone says, at the cost of jobs. But I don't believe and I haven't found any research that supports that. In fact, all the research says that any innovation creates more jobs than it ever destroyed. And so we shouldn't be scared of losing jobs. We should be thinking about, where do we place those people? How do we transform their skills and get them ready for the next phase of their career?
And something that you mentioned about digital marketing. How are you actually using digital marketing as EasyEquities? That's a follow-up question, the first one. And the second one, looking into AI. How do you plan on implementing AI within EasyEquities and also other platforms that you have under Purple Group?
At the center of our digital marketing is inspiring storytelling. So we love to tell the stories of our customers, their journeys from the first day that they invested to now 5 years on. And so we use our customers as the storyline, and we market that to people, and everyone finds an affinity. So someone who feels that has an affinity with you will translate your experience, say, well, I'm a bit like you, and so and so we use our digital marketing centered around inspiring storytelling. Around that, there's a huge amount of education that we do. So lots of digital content that supports videos, YouTube channel, Facebook, Twitter, all those kind of things that try and unpack investing into very bite-sized delivery packages. We're not asking you to do 5-hour courses. We're asking you to attend to 5 minutes a week, a month, whenever you can, and do it. So that's what sort of at the center of our strategy. Importantly, you'll find us in places that you won't find other financial services. And so you will never see a brand advert like Alan Gray's on DSTV come from EasyEquities, because that's not where we find our customers. We find them in the unexpected places, places where South Africans live and work.
Where are they?
This is a good example. I mean, put your camera can't spin around and have a look. But this is where our customers live. They are urban dwellers. They live and work in the city. And so this building, this area, is exactly where our customers are, and it's representative of who we are as well. Your second question was
about AI. Implementing it within your platforms.
we're doing a little bit but we're scratching the surface.
Okay.
Our data set is growing so fast and getting very interesting, and we now want to start using that data set and applying AI to give that intelligence back to our customers. But we're really, for us, the focus on the business has been scaling the platform architecture to keep up with the growth of our customer base, and to winning over the customer, locking in distribution channels and winning new customers. Over the next 5 years, AI will become a much more important part of our business. Today, it's a very small part.
Okay, awesome stuff. Charles, thank you so much for joining us. And what are your last words for the entrepreneurs, especially during the Global Entrepreneurship Month, eh?
Yeah, I mean, for me, entrepreneurship, the lessons I've learned from my career is fail fast, celebrate your failures and learn from them. Don't be scared of them.
Sure.
No one teaches us how to fail, no one. And so get comfortable with failing, because it's very rare that your first opportunity is a success.
Yeah.
The second one is surround yourself with people that are smarter than you, but importantly, share your passion. And if you get those ingredients right, and as a team you are completely comfortable failing, but pursuing your passion and ensuring that you have the right culture that is embraces failure and accepting of challenges. We must disagree if we're going to move forward.
Sure, definitely.
Those are the sort of key ingredients that have helped me in my career, and I took a long time to learn them. I wish I could start my career 20 years ago with those lessons, but I'm pleased I managed to forge them out, even though it's 20 years later. Sure.
Charles, you've been great. Awesome.
Thanks very much.
Thank you so much, bro. Everybody, thank you so much for joining us. This is Charles Savage. He's savage, and he's the CEO of Purple Group and EasyEquities. I want you guys to go and check out their platforms. EasyEquities, I've been a beneficiary of that platform massively, because I've been referring a lot of people to the platform, and I want you guys to look at it, check it out, try investing. Let's have financial healthy young people in South Africa. Thank you so much, guys, for joining us during the Global Entrepreneurship Month. It's been awesome. Thank you for joining us for the first episode.